Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, you read what the title says, second year QBs and players. That's what today's show is going to be about. We're going to spend the first segment talking about Deshaun Watson. We'll spend the second segment talking about Mitch Trubisky, third on Patrick Mahomes, and then the fourth we'll talk about all other players. All right. I wanted to do 4 segments on quarterbacks, but I mean, Deshaun Kaiser's a backup now in Green Bay. Let me see, is there any other quarterbacks that I missed out on? I don't think there was. Davis Webb, yeah, he's going to be a backup. So yeah, just talking about the starting quarterbacks going into the season. There was some quarterbacks I don't know. I saw C.J. Beathard's name. Obviously, I got drafted by the 49ers. But nonetheless, I mean, he's pretty much done there. I was going to say, because he did play pretty decently when he was out there for the 49ers. They just couldn't win a game, I guess. Then you got your Nathan Peterman, Josh Dobbs is out here. Let's see. Brad Kaya. All right. The legendary Miami quarterback. Miami Hurricanes, I should say. And then you had Chad Kelly. Mississippi Ole Miss quarterback. But nonetheless, like I say, yeah, we'll do Watson, Trubisky, and then Mahomes for the third segment. And then for the fourth segment, we'll talk about a bunch of other players. Guys like Leonard Fournette. All right. Let's see, Myles Garrett, Christian McCaffrey, name to bring up. So we'll just pull out a handful of guys there. All right. But nonetheless, that's how the show's going to go. That's how we'll be spending today's show, obviously. If you missed yesterday, we talked about the draft. 2013 draft to 2016, ranked all of those. It was a fun show. All right, but nonetheless, here we are for today. So getting into it, Deshaun Watson, all right. Last year was he a top 10 quarterback last year? Okay, was he on his way to being a top 10 quarterback? I'd say he was on his way. All right, had a lot of good games. I mean, let's see, he started 6 games. Played in 7. Obviously, he came in week 1, but of course, I mean, Tom Savage already lost that one. He went 3-3 in the 6 games he started. For the 7 games total that he played, he completed nearly 62% of his passes, about 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. All right, obviously had a very good rookie year. I'd say probably looked like the best quarterback out of that draft class, at least early on. Okay. And looking at his game logs, I mean, his first start against Cincinnati, they win that one 13-9. I think that was a Sunday night game, or might have been Thursday night, actually. All right, he completed 15 out of his 24 passes, 125 yards. Let's see, had 1 rushing touchdown for 60. Ran the ball 5 times for 67 yards and had a rushing touchdown. Against the Patriots, they lose 36-33. Completes 22 out of his 33 passes, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. All right, kind of like his coming out party there since he was going toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. Next week they play Tennessee. They beat him 57-14, I should say. Completes 25 out of his 34 passes, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick there. Also a rushing touchdown, so 5 total touchdowns for him. Then they play Kansas City. They lose 34-42, but he completes 16 out of 31 passes, 261 yards, 5 touchdowns there throwing the ball. And then against Cleveland, they win 33-17, 17-29, 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then against the Seahawks, which I think was his best game. Okay, he did throw 3 interceptions in this one, but nonetheless, I feel like he played his best here. All right. They lost 38-41, completed 19 out of his 30 passes, had 402 yards, 4 touchdowns, like I said, threw 3 picks there. All right, had a quarterback rating of 106.9. All right, let's see. He got sacked 5 times in that game, too, and they still lost by 3. Ran for 67 yards also. So, I mean, given what he did last season, I mean, you even had Richard Sherman saying that he could be a top 5 quarterback this year. And, of course, this was all before he blew out his knee, which was actually after that. That was after that Seattle game. Okay, I remember. I was watching PTI when they broke the news that he tore his ACL in practice. All right, shout out to Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon, but nonetheless, now it's pretty much him trying to rehab that knee injury, and I guess we see where the Texans go from here. Okay. And looking at the Texans, like I said, I mean, they go 3-3 and Deshaun Watson 6 starts. They're 3-4 after 7 games. Watson gets hurt. Tom Savage comes in. They only win 1 game for the rest of the season. All right. I mean, just imagine if Tom Savage is the quarterback for the entire season rather than, let's say they're like, you know what, no matter what happens, we're going to sit Deshaun Watson for a year, let him develop, and we're going to have Tom Savage be the quarterback all year long. There's no way they would have got through that entire season. Okay? I'm not even sure they won a game there. I mean, look how difficult it was for them to win 1 with Tom Savage. You really think they'd be able to do it twice? All right? But nonetheless, like now, I mean, you got Deshaun Watson talking to reporters saying that he thinks he's light years ahead of his rookie season. Okay, talking about mentally and all. I mean, he hasn't really been able to go out and throw the ball too much about that because of his knee injury. Still trying to rehab that. But like I said, as far as learning the game and all, I mean, you got to be excited if you're a Texans fan. Okay? And my only real question with Deshaun Watson is, how does this affect him as far as getting outside the pocket at all, his knee injury? Okay, because we've seen Tom Brady suffer a torn ACL, and it didn't really affect Brady. But Brady doesn't really move around in the pocket. Okay? And that's why Brady is so... that's Brady's biggest weakness, is you beat Brady by putting pressure on him. Okay, and that's one thing I'm starting to realize now. Is like maybe it's just because of his knee injury he hasn't been able to get out of it. Because obviously when you see a team putting a lot of pressure on Brady, I mean, maybe we could go back to that 2015 postseason run by Denver's defense where they beat the Patriots. Von Miller was in that Patriots backfield every single play, I feel, and always in the pocket when Brady was dropping back. Okay, Brady had no shot whatsoever to do anything successful in that game. All right, so that's why I'm kind of looking at Deshaun Watson. Let's say that he can't really escape the pocket too much now because of his knee injury and limitations and all. I mean, is that going to affect the team going forward? Who knows? All right, but looking at it, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem given that Deshaun Watson is already a great pocket passer, I'd say. All right? And, I mean, now going forward, it's just a matter of is he going to be ready for week 1 and how good this Texans team is going to look with him. Because obviously, yeah, he did have a great rookie year, but one thing we constantly see with guys coming into their second year is that they tend to hit their little sophomore slump. Okay? Film starts to come out on these guys. Game obviously is about the same pace as it was, but nonetheless, you're starting to see things you didn't catch last season. All right? And teams are starting to catch things about you that they didn't last season. So, I mean, this could be one of those things where you got Deshaun Watson coming off of a knee injury and all, coming into his second season. Maybe he doesn't look too hot there. All right? And we kind of saw this with Dak Prescott, not with him getting an injury and all, but more so him not playing well in his second season. All right? His first year, they go 13-3. He throws the ball well and all. They make it to the playoffs. I think they end up losing to the Packers, I think, because of that Mason Crosby field goal at the end. All right? Which, I mean, Dallas should have never gave up that completion to, what was it, Devontae Adams? That got him into field goal range. But nonetheless, let's look at Dak Prescott's his total stats for his rookie year. So his rookie year, he throws for 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, 4 picks, 68 completion percentage. All right. 2017 completes 63% of his passes, 3,300 yards, which was down from his rookie year, and 22 touchdowns, which was barely down from his rookie year. 13 interceptions, which was worse than his rookie year, and then 86.6 quarterback rating, which was worse than his 104.9 rating his rookie year. So pretty much second year was completely different. Of course, he didn't have Ezekiel Elliott out there and whatnot, but like I said, I mean, it was just a matter of he couldn't throw the ball. It looked like Alex Smith out there and just seemingly struggled. All right, when I say Alex Smith, it's just, I mean, Alex Smith back when he was with the 49ers, that's what Dak Prescott looked like. All right, so that's why I'm curious to see how Deshaun Watson looks in his second year. Is he going to take a step back, or is it just going to be business as usual and he's going to be going forward? Who knows? All right, and I mean, looking at that Texans team, they do got a lot of talent. Dare I say it, if Deshaun Watson plays how he did last season, this could be a team who makes the Super Bowl. Okay? They got a lot of talent at every different position. Obviously, Watson at quarterback. Okay? You got Foreman and Miller at running back. Fuller, Hopkins, and Miller at receiver. Okay? Looking at the defense, Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt on the other side. All right. Whitney Merciless coming off of his injury. Bernard McKinney at linebacker. And you got Kareem Jackson, Jonathan Joseph. Okay. You got Tyrod Matthew that you just added. Andre Hall. I mean, they got a very, very solid team out there in Houston. All right. And it's just a matter of... They'll go as far as Deshaun Watson takes them, I'll say. Okay, this isn't a team that could play well despite bad quarterback play. They need Watson to pretty much be the same quarterback that he was last season, if not better. Okay, and even if he is the same quarterback as last season, they can still pull out a few wins and whatnot. And I mean, let's take a look at their schedule and see exactly how many tough teams they got to face off with. And I mean, looking at their division, it's already a tough division there. You got Jacksonville, who just played in the AFC Championship game. You got Tennessee, who should be better. And then Indianapolis, if Andrew Luck is out there week 1, should be better also. Okay? And of course, I mean, you got the Patriots week 1, the Giants week 3. You got to play Tennessee in Tennessee week 2, which is going to be tough. Indianapolis in Indianapolis with Andrew Luck week 4. Dallas week 5. At Jacksonville week 7. Okay, then... I mean, you got to play a tough Jacksonville team on the road. Then you got to go home and play Miami on a short week on a Thursday night. And you're in Denver. All right. Washington's going to be a tough team to beat. Philly. So, I mean, they don't really have that easy of a schedule. All right. I mean, you got an easy game in Buffalo. Against Buffalo, I should say. You got to play Cleveland, Cleveland's going to be better. You get to play New York, at least the Jets. So, yeah, we'll see what ends up going down with the Texans. But like I said, I mean, Deshaun Watson's got to be just as good as he was last season if they want to do anything, especially making playoffs. So we'll see. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about Deshaun Watson. Today's show is just more so predicated on talking about second-year players. All right, we're starting off with the quarterbacks. We did Deshaun Watson in the first segment. Going to talk about Pat Mahomes in this segment, Mitchell Trubisky in the third, and then we'll talk about the other receivers and whatnot in the fourth. Okay, just like a handful of players I'll give my thoughts on. All right, but nonetheless, for this segment, like I said, we're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes, I should say. And the Chiefs drafted him last year. I believe he was the 12th pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken. No, he was the 10th pick in the draft. Watson was the 12th pick. And then you got the Saints at number 11, where you got Sean Payton. They were ready to take Mahomes with that 11th pick if he wasn't going to go to Kansas City. Of course, they end up getting the defensive rookie in there, Marshon Lattimore, so I think it worked out pretty well there. And I mean, I'm looking at this draft right now, and a lot of these players played extremely well in their rookie season. Myles Garrett's one that people never really talked about, but did play well, I'd say. I think Mitch Trubisky looked good, wasn't lining it up like Deshaun Watson, but nonetheless, once John Fox decided, you know what, maybe it's a good idea to let my quarterback throw the ball, he looked good. All right, Leonard Fournette looked good. Jamal Adams played extremely well for the Jets. Christian McCaffrey did well for the Panthers. Marshon Lattimore, like I said, was Defensive Rookie of the Year. Deshaun Watson played well. Okay, Derek Barnett played well for the Eagles. Let's see, who else? O.J. Howard showed some flashes with the Bucks. Adoree Jackson was a glorified track star playing cornerback for the Titans. Charles Harris was all right for the Dolphins. Evan Ingram played well for the Giants. Jabril Peppers, I don't know. Greg Williams had him doing some other stuff playing defense. Takaris McKinley played well for the Falcons. Tre'Davious White was, a lockdown corner for the Bills. All right. TJ Watt played great for the Steelers. Reuben Foster did well for the 49ers. So it was a lot of solid first-round picks. And, there's a lot of solid players in the second round of the draft, too. So, looking at it, this was a pretty solid draft, I'd say. But, nonetheless, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, okay? So, obviously, they took him with the 10th pick, and obviously their plan was to have him take over for Alex Smith. I'm not sure if it's just they were tired of Alex Smith, they felt they couldn't win anything with Smith, and they needed an upgrade in order to help their Super Bowl aspirations, or they just figured Mahomes was a can't-miss prospect. All right, but he only played one game last season and only started one game last season. That was, I believe, a Week 17 game against Denver, or if I'm not mistaken. He completed 22 out of his 35 attempts, completed nearly 63% right there, 285 yards, no passing touchdowns, did throw a pick. Obviously, he got sacked twice. He only started one game. You can't really expect much from the kid. Okay, so now more so, the story about Patrick Mahomes is heading into this season. All right, he's basically a rookie, a Ben Simmons-style rookie coming into the season. Obviously, we're going to think of him as a second-year player, but nonetheless, this is his team now. Okay? And we've talked about Patrick Mahomes before on the show. It was more so about him not accepting endorsements because he hasn't been able to prove himself. That's a very honorable move. Is it a smart move? To me, I'm not too sure, just given the fact that, they don't call it the not-for-long league they don't call it the NFL not for long for some bad reason or whatnot, like it's true. So I guess him not taking the endorsements is fine. I'm sure it looks good to the fans, but nonetheless, I don't think that it is the best decision. All right, but that's besides the fact. Now he's going into this season where, just with Deshaun Watson and the Texans, this Chiefs team only goes as far as Patrick Mahomes takes them. All right, and Patrick Mahomes is going into a decent situation. Actually, a very good one for that matter. You're playing with a playmaking wide receiver, all right? Could be top 15, if anything. Great receiving corps. You got a top 3 tight end. All right, you got a rookie who pretty much lit the league on fire last season. Could have been the Offensive Rookie of the Year, if not for a bit of a slump mid-season. All right, let's look at what Kareem Hunt did last season as far as his stats. All right, because the dude was on fire. Carried the ball 272 times. Let's see, over 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, 53 receptions, 455 yards, 3 touchdowns. The guy could not be stopped. All right. And looking at his game logs, let's see how many 100-yard games he had last season, too. And I don't understand why Andy Reid decided not to give him the ball in that playoff game last season. All right, he only carried it 11 times. That makes no sense to me. But nonetheless, last season, you had Kareem Hunt, who had 148 yards week 1, 172 week 3, 100 week 4, 107 week 5. Then he goes through his little slump, 116 week 13, 155 week 14, 91 week 15, all right? So, he did have games where he ran for 21 yards, 46, 37, and 17. So, obviously, it wasn't all great, but nonetheless, maybe that was just him hitting the rookie wall. But, of course, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you got to be pretty excited. You got a guy like that in the backfield. You got a guy like Tyreek Hill as your number one receiver, and then you got a guy like Travis Kelce, who's pretty much the security blanket for this team. All right, plus the Chiefs needed a lot of help on defense, and they spent pretty much they did spend every single one of their draft picks on defense. All right, round 2, they take Breland Speaks, defensive end out of Ole Miss. Round 3, they take Derek Nady, defensive tackle out of Florida State. Second pick of round 3, they take Dorian O'Daniel, outside linebacker out of Clemson. 4th round, they take Armani Watts, safety out of Texas A&M. 6th round, they take Tremont Smith, cornerback out of Central Arkansas. And then the second pick of the 6th round, they take Khalil McKenzie, defensive tackle out of Tennessee. All right, they traded away Marcus Peters this season. I'm not sure how I feel about that move. Okay, obviously they said it was because of locker room reasons. I'm not sure how true that is, but nonetheless, I mean, if it was a problem in the locker room, then yeah, you got to get rid of him. All right, and looking at their roster, like I said, you got Mahomes at quarterback, Kareem Hunt at running back. I mean, they still got Spencer Ware, Sharkhandrick Wester. So they got a couple of good backups. Damian Williams, who they just brought in, who was a nice little receiving back from Miami when he was there still. Chris Conley, who they're expecting to step up. Like I said, they got Tyreek Hill there, Demarcus Robinson. All right. Obviously, you got Sammy Watkins there now, too, the new $16 million man. Let's see, Travis Kelce. Looking at the defense. Defense is going to be a bit tough, given that they got real old last season. Let me see. You still got Justin Houston there, Anthony Hitchens, Reggie Ragland. All right. Looking at the secondary, you got Kendall Fuller, who I think they got from the Alex Smith trade. And Eric Berry, of course, who's one of the best safeties in the league. So, I mean, they do got some talent. Defense isn't probably where they want it to be. Of course, you're going to need a lot of those rookies to step up in year one. But nonetheless, I mean, I see a lot of people talking about Patrick Mahomes as if he's already a good quarterback. All right, people are excited for the Patrick Mahomes era in Kansas City. I didn't really watch him too much over in Texas Tech, but I do know that he has a very strong arm and that he's basically your prototypical quarterback, okay? It's just a matter of, I guess with Mahomes, just pretty much, I guess, just reining in that arm a bit. I'm not sure really, okay? Like I said, he's got all the tools of being a solid quarterback, so you think this should work, all right? But it's just a point, I guess, accuracy is just the biggest thing here. All right, because usually with a quarterback like that, I mean, he's tall, rocket arm, smart guy. You just got to hope that he's accurate with the ball. If he's accurate with the ball, I mean, you got your franchise quarterback. Okay? And that's one of the biggest things with quarterbacks is that you can have all the skills in the world that you want, but if you're not accurate, you're not going to make it. Okay? Cam Newton's only really one of the guys that isn't really too accurate, but nonetheless can figure out ways to get things done. Okay? There's not too many like Cam Newton in this league. All right, so with Pat Mahomes, I mean, he's got a rocket arm. He's tall, knows the game. If he's accurate, then Chiefs are going to be just fine this season. All right, last year they made the playoffs. This year I'm not really too sure what to think of them. Just given the fact, like I said, I've never seen Patrick Mahomes really play too much in the NFL except for that Week 17 game against Denver where, I mean, like the games like that don't matter. All right. So it's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening because, I mean, looking at the division, you got a Denver Broncos team who kind of wasted the last couple of years of the Super Bowl window with their quarterbacks. Now you bring in Case Keenum. I'm not sure that this makes the Broncos, this doesn't make the Broncos a Super Bowl contender or anything like that. But I'm just curious to see if Case Keenum plays well, how good this Broncos team is going to be and how well that defense is going to look. I mean, you look over at San Diego, I think they got probably the most complete team in the AFC West as far as, I mean, just top to bottom. And I think they are going to win that division, I think, this season. All right, I think they could be a dangerous team in the playoffs, but of course it is the Chargers and Phillip Rivers, and they've never really been that. And then you look over at Oakland, I'm not really sure what's going on over there. Okay? John Gruden, like I've always said, I think he's a bit overrated as a head coach. I think he's a good coach, but not as good as people think. All right, he's a career 500 coach who did win a Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's players. All right, since he won that Super Bowl, I mean, the Bucs never really did anything. Okay? And, I mean, it just seems now that I'm not sure how much I like Jordy Nelson getting up there in age. All right, Amari Cooper, I mean, he's got to learn how to catch the ball. Martavis Bryant is going to do well there. And honestly, it's all a point about Oakland's defense. How is that defense going to look this season? Because last year they looked terrible. Okay, if Oakland's defense doesn't play well, then they have no shot whatsoever at being a good team. And it's kind of crazy to talk about just given the fact that, I mean, before last season, we were talking about Oakland possibly being a team who could challenge the Patriots. All right, obviously that didn't come down to it. But nonetheless, I mean, the AFC West is full of questions. I think the Chargers are the only ones who got a lot of them answered. And like I said, with the Chiefs, they could be good, but it's just a matter of how well Patrick Mahomes plays. And I mean, all the reasons as to why he will work out. Okay. I mean, you got Andy Reid, who's always done well with quarterbacks, so who's to say he won't do well with Patrick Mahomes? So we'll see what ends up going down, but nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about another second-year quarterback. That's Mitch Trubisky, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked about Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. Now we're going to talk about Mitch Trubisky, who was the first quarterback taken in the 2017 draft last year. All right, yeah, you had Mitch Trubisky. Let's look at all the quarterbacks who were taken. Trubisky taken first, then you had Mahomes, and then Watson. I think that was it for the first round. Second round, we had, let's see, Deshaun Kaiser. That already didn't work out for the Browns. I mean, that's probably the quickest that they got rid of a guy who didn't work out there. Let's see, who else? I think Davis Webb was one in this draft, I believe. Yeah, he went to the Giants. Could be the heir apparent to Eli Manning. CJ Beathard got taken by the 49ers. Let's see, who else? Let's see, we had Josh Dobbs to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, that was a wasted pick there. All right. I don't know why you take Dobbs when he couldn't even cut it at Tennessee. Let's see, looking at, you had Nathan Peterman taken by the Buffalo Bills, saying that he could possibly be a starter for that team this season. Yeah, go ahead, Buffalo, if you want. Doesn't look like a good move to make, though. Let's see, was Nathan Peterman the last quarterback taken? He was not, I forgot. Yeah, we had Chad Kelly taken also, Brad Kaya. So obviously, I mean, the first three quarterbacks turned out pretty well. Other than that, remains to be seen. If I had to put my money on Davis Webb, I'd say that he probably doesn't have too long of an NFL career. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, Mitch Trubisky taken number one. Did the Bears make the right decision there? It looks like they might have. Okay, obviously, people are going to say, oh, they could have took Deshaun Watson. I don't think anyone thought of Deshaun Watson as a top quarterback like that going into the draft. All right, of course, hindsight, you'll say, oh, yeah, I did. No, you didn't. All right. So looking at Mitch Trubisky last season, he played 12 games, started 12 games, went 4-8. All right, completed 59% of his passes, a little over 2,100 yards, a little less than 22. Or actually, yeah, a little less than 2,200 yards, I should say. Threw for 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Got sacked 31 times, which is rough. All right, and his quarterback rating was 77.5. Looking at his game log last season, let's see exactly how he did. And I know Trubisky, too, was limited as far as how many times he was able to throw the ball, just because John Fox figured, the less he throws it, the better, I guess. So let's see. First week he plays, which is probably week 5, I think it was, something like that. He completes 12 out of his 25 passes, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's not great. Okay, then he goes 8 of 16, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Third start, he goes 4 of 7 completing throwing the ball. 4 of 7, 107 yards there. Okay. Then he goes 14 of 32, 164 yards, 1 interception. 21 of 35, 297 yards, 1 touchdown. And I mean, a lot of these games are close too. It's not like the Bears were ever out of these ones. They got blown out by Philly. I'm not going to blame him for that. We're just giving those Super Bowl champs. All right, but yeah, Trubisky kept them close in all of these except for against Philly and against Minnesota week 17. All right, where they lost 23-10. So, I mean, Trubisky did well to keep him in there, but nonetheless. Now it's just a point where you're going to want to see him step up a bit. Okay, and obviously you want to see all of your second-year players step up, but of course Trubisky more so because he's going to be your starter, and he's supposed to be your franchise quarterback. Okay, and I think that the Bears did well to get better this offseason, and we'll talk about all of that, but nonetheless, I mean, they fired John Fox. I think it was the right move. I think that John Fox, the Jeff Fishers of the world, and all that have kind of, their time in the NFL is done. I think they're just too old for the game. Okay, and I think it's passed them up. And I think the hiring of Matt Nagy was a solid one, given the fact that he did well over in Kansas City. We saw how that offense looked with Alex Smith, and we saw that Alex Smith had the best years of his career so far in Kansas City. I mean, we'll see how he does in Washington, but nonetheless, like I said, he did well in Kansas City. And then they brought in Mark Helfrich to be the offensive coordinator. I'm curious to see what kind of offense they're going to be running. Obviously, it's not going to be some Oregon Ducks type of spread. It's going to be pro style, but you will see some spread contents or whatever. I think, is that the right word? I don't know. But you will see some stuff from the spread in their offense, I should say. Okay? So maybe they're running a little bit more fast-paced. I think that'll open things up for Mitch Trubisky a little bit more also. And he can make the big throws, too. I've seen him before. All right? Plus, you got Tariq Cohen, who I think may be one of the biggest fantasy sleepers this season. All right? I'll definitely be trying to draft him. I think that Nagy and Helfrich are going to definitely try and find a way to get Cohen more involved in this offense. All right. But as far as, I mean, what we think of the Bears going into this season, they went 5-11 last season. I think if they go like 7 or 9 or 8-8, that's a huge plus and that's a success. I think 8-8 would be probably best case scenario for them. 9-7 possibly. They go 9-7, they make the playoffs, then I don't know what to say. Okay, the Bears are kind of the team I'm kind of on the bandwagon of, meaning I think they're going to be very good in the near future, and I'm kind of just waiting for that to happen. So I've been sitting on my my Bears are going to be good take. All right, and I think they're building their way towards it. All right, because looking at the team, looking at the moves they make, let's look at the draft. All right, so first round they take Roquan Smith with the 8th pick. I think that was the best pick they could have made. I think he's going to be an instant star on defense, probably going to be a big leader. All right, he's been compared to Ray Lewis, not as far as like his play and all, but as far as his leadership and being able to be that game-changing guy on the defense. You take James Daniel in the 2nd round, center out of Iowa. All right, already getting Mitch Trubisky help. I like the Anthony Miller pick in the 2nd round also. I think he's going to be a big star for that team, and I think he's going to be one where he's going to fly under the radar a bit, meaning no one's really going to be paying attention to Miller until he lights up the league this season. All right, then you take Joel Gubin, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, outside linebacker to Western Kentucky. All right, then take Bilal Nichols, defensive tackle to Delaware in the 5th round. Kyle Fitz, defensive end out of Utah in the 6th. And then in the 7th round, they take Javon Wims, wide receiver out of Georgia. All right, they also added, of course, Allen Robinson and Taylor Gabriel to this team. So obviously they're going to be trying to run some type of dynamic offense, bringing in Gabriel. Obviously you got Cohen there. I mean, it'd be very, very odd if they didn't try to do something like that. All right, and looking at this team, I mean, you got Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, Jordan Howard, who's coming into his 3rd year, I believe it is. All right, playing extremely well. Top 10 running back, I'd say. Like I said, Tariq Cohen out there. Looking at the receivers, you got Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller. Those are going to be 3 very solid receivers. Then you got Kevin White, who is going to be starting his 4th year, has dealt with injuries his first 3 seasons, and now seems to be healthy. It's just a matter of how much can his legs give him. All right. Looking at the tight ends, you got Trey Burton, who was a very sought-after tight end. All right, was the Eagles' backup tight end last couple of seasons. But, of course, I mean, you can get past Brent Selleck or Zach Ertz. They still got Deion Sims there, who I think is a very good blocking tight end. All right, I think they got a very solid offensive line. And then looking at the defense, you got Akeem Hicks, who's played well so far in his career. All right, let's see. I like safeties. I think Eddie Johnson, I think it is. Eddie Jackson. All right, 2nd-year safety this year. I think he played well last season, did well to create some turnovers. And that's one thing I like a lot about this Bears defense is that they're very young, but this is a team who gets to the ball quick and forces turnovers. All right, I think that's going to be a big plus this upcoming season for them. I think they probably will be one of the most fun teams to watch. Plus, you got Prince Amukamara there, Danny Trevathan, of course, Roquan Smith, Aaron Lynch. They're going to have a lot of good linebackers here for this Bears team. The only downside to this Bears team is the fact that they play in the NFC North. Okay? Who's in the NFC North, you might ask? Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Minnesota, who's a Super Bowl contender. Green Bay, when you got Aaron Rodgers out there healthy, is always a Super Bowl contender. And Detroit, where, yeah, they fall short of expectations constantly, but I think this year they're going to be a lot better. All right, so it's going to be tough for the Bears to do anything really in the NFC this season. I don't think they're going to be a bad team, but it's just there's way too many good teams for them to do much. All right, and let's look at exactly who the Bears got on their schedule as far as tough matchups. Obviously, you got to play the teams in your division twice, but as far as outside of that, what do they got going on? You got to play the NFC West, Seahawks, Cardinals. Okay, let's see. They got the 49ers and the Rams. That's going to be tough. You got to play the Giants. Let's see, you're playing the AFC East, so you got 2 easy games in the Jets and Bills. Miami's going to be a tough one for them. Of course, the Patriots are going to be a tough one there. All right, so let's see. They play Miami week 4. They play the Cardinals week 2. Or actually, no, they play the Packers week 1, Seahawks week 2, Cardinals week 3, the Bucks week 4, the Dolphins week 5, Patriots week 6. That's going to be tough too. They play, AFC East teams 4 weeks in a row, all right, with 1 on the road, then they got 2 at home, and then finishing off on the road against the Bills. So, like I said, I'm not expecting the Bears to go out and make the playoffs, light up the NFC and all that, but if they go 7-9, 8-8, I'll be extremely happy with the way their season turned out. So we'll see what ends up going down, but nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to talk about a bunch of different year 2 players, more so the running backs and wide receivers, so I'll give my thoughts on them going forward. So we're going to wrap it up here, like I said, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked all about second-year quarterbacks. All right, we talked about Mitchell Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. Now we're going to talk about the other players. All right, we're not going to be focusing on the quarterbacks. We're going to be talking about the other good ones. All right, so guys like Myles Garrett, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey. Let's take a look at this 2017 draft real quick and see exactly how many players really stepped up in their first season. All right, so like I said, Myles Garrett's 1, Fournette, Jamal Adams, Christian McCaffrey, Lattimore, Derek Barnett, and of course I'm going to miss some players, so don't yell at me for missing your favorite player. All right, Evan Ingram, Takaris McKinley, Tre'Davious White, T.J. Watt, Reuben Foster. All right, looking over the second round, I think Kevin King played well for the Packers. Let's see, who else? Zay Jones was a bit of a bust for the Bills in this first season, I'd say. Marcus May, all right, solid pick for the Jets. Jets spent their first 2 picks on safeties. They did well there, all right, on Marcus May and Jamal Adams. I think they got their safety duo pretty much locked up for the near future. Curtis Samuel did some things for the Panthers, wide receiver at Ohio State. Dalvin Cook's a guy who played 4 games, ended up tearing his ACL. It's looking like this season, I guess the Saints are going to be, or not the Saints, the Vikings are going to be giving him more to do on the offense, so we'll see what that looks like. Marcus Williams, of course, safety out of Utah for the Saints, ended up having that unfortunate play against the Vikings where the Vikings ended up winning in the NFC divisional round, but of course Marcus Williams was a very good player. All right, let's see. Joe Mixon played well for the Bengals. Let's see, am I missing anyone else in the second round? I might be. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy who also played well. And, of course, there's a lot of guys that I'm not even naming that, still haven't even gotten their shot that probably will play well going forward. Alvin Kamara. The Saints had the draft of a lifetime here. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver for LA. Talking about the Rams. Let's see. Am I missing anyone else in that third round? Kareem Hunt. Obviously, he played well. Deontay Foreman did a job for the Texans. Shaquille Griffin over with Seattle, cornerback. Let's see, who else? I'm looking for some real diamond in the rough type of players here. Heading over to the fourth round. Dede Westbrook, I think, is going to be a very good player for the Jaguars. Eddie Jackson for Chicago, I think, did well playing safety for them. Like I said, caused some turnovers. Carl Lawson, I like. Matt Collins, I could tell, did well with Philly. Not more so as far as being a starter or anything like that, but had some production. Maybe could be one of those guys where, like I said, hasn't really done much, but going forward, develop more over the years and turn into a decent receiver. Tariq Cohen, who I think is going to have a big year this season, I'll definitely be drafting him on my team. Let's see, where are we? In the fourth round right now. Ryan Switzer did well. Jamal Williams did well. Marlon Mack also. Looking over at round 5, let's see who else. George Kittle was a solid pick for the San Francisco 49ers, tight end from Iowa. Let's see, Desmond King. Jake Elliott, playing with the Eagles now. I don't know why the Bengals just let him go. Let's see. That's Mark Kelly. I was going to say Marquise Lee. That's not right. Devon Godshaw did well for the Dolphins. Probably going to be their starting defensive tackle. Anytime you can get a guy in the 5th round, he's a starter the next season. That's a big plus. Granted, it might be just because of the fact that Ndamukong Suh's gone. Let's see, round 6. Anyone else? I think we might have hit our diamonds in the rough already. And I think we might have. Looking at round 6, there's not much there. Round 7, did we have any guys here? It's not looking like it. All right, not looking like it at all. So, nonetheless, guys I'd name, guys who all played well. And, of course, like I said, there's some guys who didn't even get a shot last season that will going forward will turn out to be star players. All right, but looking at it, Leonard Fournette, guy off the top of my head, who's going to be a big factor on Jacksonville's offense. Obviously, what we've seen from Blake Bortles over his career is that he's a guy who can't do it on his own. Okay, he needs talent around him. He's not going to be a guy who's going to throw the ball 50 times and you're going to be happy about it. All right, you more so want to limit him to maybe about 30 throws a game, okay, and let Leonard Fournette do the rest. Okay, given the fact that obviously we saw Blake Bortles doesn't always make the best decisions. Okay, when you're throwing the ball less and less, that means less time for mistakes. And looking at Fournette, he needs Blake Bortles to be better this season too, given the fact that teams were just ridiculously stacking the box against Fournette last season, like throwing formations where it's like, yeah, Bortles, go ahead and throw the ball. Or it's just where Jacksonville's definitely not throwing the ball here. And looking at Fournette's stats last season, let's see, he started 13 games, so that means he missed 3 games, ran for over 1,000 yards still, 9 touchdowns, had 302 receiving yards, 36 receptions, 1 touchdown. So obviously missing 3 games, who knows? Maybe that's another 300 yards there. Okay, maybe a few more touchdowns there. Leonard Fournette, I think, was everything we all expected him to be coming out of LSU. I figure that he's the next Adrian Peterson. It's just a matter of the guy's got to stay healthy and make sure he shows up for team picture day, I guess. All right, but like I said, I think Fournette's going to be a guy where, kind of like how we saw with Jacksonville back when they had Maurice Jones-Drew. Obviously, now they have a better team, but more so the point where Jacksonville's always been a good team at running back, from Fred Taylor to Maurice Jones-Drew to now Leonard Fournette. And I think Fournette, like I said, is going to be carrying the torch of solid running backs for this Jacksonville team. And like I said, right now he's already a top 10 running back. If he plays a whole lot better compared to last season, he'll be a top 5 running back already. All right, so it's going to be very interesting to see what he does this upcoming season. All right, Corey Davis is another guy I'm looking forward to seeing play. Obviously, didn't really do much during the regular season for the Titans. Was more so, I don't want to say kept shelved or anything like that, but didn't get too many targets or whatnot. Let's see. Looking at his stats last season, he started 9 of them, played in 11. He had 34 receptions, 375 yards. No receiving touchdowns during the regular season, but let's look at his game against the Patriots and see exactly what he did there, because that was pretty much his coming out party. So against the Patriots, he caught 5 passes, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. All right, obviously those aren't big time numbers, but nonetheless did something there. And obviously with Tennessee, they're going to need him to step up, just given the fact that they don't have Eric Decker anymore, and Corey Davis, besides Rashard Matthews, is the top receiver on that team. So if Corey Davis doesn't play well, then it kind of just shuts down this whole concept of me thinking that the Titans are going to be a lot of a better team this season, especially Marcus Mariota. They're going to need Corey Davis to especially be the guy first and foremost that steps up. All right, let's see. Who else do I want to talk about? I guess Alvin Kamara. All right, Alvin Kamara got taken in the third round, last draft. Okay, and pretty much took the league by storm. All right, look at this. The guy averaged 6.1 yards per carry. All right, ran the ball 120 times, had 728 yards. Let's see, had 81 receptions, 826 yards, 5 touchdowns. So that's what? A little over 1,500 yards total, 13 touchdowns. What more could you ask for there? Okay, the dude was on fire all season long. And let's look at his game logs from last season and see exactly what he did. I remember, he missed the game last season. Everyone was freaking out because that was the start of playoffs for a lot of fantasy leagues. So he didn't really break out until, I'd say, maybe about week 4 against Miami, where he had 10 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown. Even then, he only ran the ball 5 times, had 25 yards. Okay, week 5, he runs the ball 10 times, has 75 yards, catches his 3 passes for 12 yards there. Let's see, where did he truly have a real breakout game? I'd say that was maybe probably week 8 against Tampa Bay. Okay. Where he ran the ball had 68 yards, 1 touchdown, had 84 yards receiving, 1 touchdown there. Then against Buffalo, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. All right. So he wasn't running for 100 yards or whatnot, but nonetheless, you saw what he could do as far as running the ball. He was more so dangerous on the receiving side of the ball, but of course you're going to have Mark Ingram, who's going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season, and it's going to be a big thing for Kamara to step up, and this is one where maybe we could see him take the starting job, because obviously Mark Ingram was the guy who was getting the bulk of the carries, but if Kamara could show, I could run in between the tackles, outside the tackles, and also catch the ball at the backfield, why not just use him a whole bunch? And obviously they're going to integrate Mark Ingram, but this is also for something for New Orleans to see in these first 4 games. Can Kamara be our featured back for the near future? Because I think this is a contract year for Mark Ingram, and of course, if you could see that Kamara could do the same job that Ingram does and also does it for cheap, will do it for cheaper considering the fact that Mark Ingram's going to be getting paid. Why not just keep him there and let Mark Ingram walk, which I think is going to be happening. Okay? So it's going to be real interesting to see what exactly goes on there with Kamara. But looking at the rest of this draft, let's see. Let's name off one more player. Okay. Let's see. Should we go look at the second? Let's look at the second round. Dalvin Cook. All right. Obviously, Dalvin Cook coming off of an ACL injury, but nonetheless looked good with the Vikings before he tore that knee up. All right. Let me see exactly what he did before he got hurt. He played 4 games, started 4 games, ran the ball 74 times, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns there, 11 receptions, 90 yards. Looking at his game logs, let's see how he did in those first 4 games as far as each game. So week 1 they played the Saints, I believe. I have to double check. I can't remember exactly, but nonetheless, he runs the ball 22 times, 127 yards. All right, no touchdowns there. Week 2, they play Pittsburgh. He runs the ball 12 times for 64 yards. Week 3, he plays Tampa Bay, 97 yards rushing. All right, let's see. 5 receptions, 72 yards, and then also a touchdown in that game. And then week 4, when he blows out his knee, 13 attempts, 66 yards, a touchdown, and then 1 reception for 8 yards. Obviously, it's going to be very important for him to play well this season, given the fact that, you want Kirk Cousins doing everything on that team. And I think +2 with Dalvin Cook and that offense they got going on, they should be a very good team. So we'll see what ends up going down there. But we're going to wrap it up here. Today we talked about second-year players and more so quarterbacks for the first 3 segments. Talked about Mahomes, Watson, and Trubisky. And then for this segment, talked about Fournette, Cook, and Corey Davis. So thanks for listening to and also Alvin Kamara. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.